how to deal with depression and addiction. Because I truly believe you can't have one without the other. Depression is addiction, addiction is depression. It's a vicious cycle that goes back and forth. And so, I'm naturally a depressive person. Been like that my whole life. And it was about a decade ago that I found certain things in my life that helped me in my life to overcome both my addiction and my depression. A little quick background about myself. I've done every drug possible. I've had 2 ODs in my life back in my party days. And I've used to be a heavy smoker, heavy drinker, heavy abuser of party drugs. That being said, I had many really interesting chance encounters with people, and through my experiences in my life, I've found certain things that have completely helped me transform my outlook in life, transform my body, my mind, my soul, my spirit, whatever you want to call it. And what I'm going to do for you today is I'm going to lay out what personally has helped me, and through my personal experiences, me sharing with you, hopefully this can help you too. Okay, so I'm going to talk about like 5 key things when it comes to depression and addiction. Number 1, it's something not particular you can do, but it's very interesting. I'm not too sure if you guys have heard about this before, but there's a really fascinating study. It's called the rat park study. And so in a nutshell, they've experimented with 2 kinds of rat parks. One rat park was a ghetto park. I mean, really fucking ghetto. You had no other rats in there. You had no females in there. You had no activities they can partake in there. You pretty much had an empty cage. And within this rat park, the rats were offered cocaine in liquid form, you know, like the water feeder. Doesn't take a rocket science to figure out what's going to happen. The rats partaked in the cocaine and they got high. Okay. Now the scientists like, let's try to figure out some other scenarios we can put the rats in. So they created a rat amusement park. And this is a fucking pimped out rat amusement park. They had women rat in there, obviously. They had wheels. They had things the rats can play with. It was like a Hugh Hefner playground for rats. Both men and women enjoying themselves. It was a big fucking party. And they gave the opportunity for rats to partake in cocaine. Well, guess what happened? The rats didn't partake in the cocaine. So the scientists like, wait a second, that's pretty interesting. So what's going on here? Well, they soon discovered that, wait a second, maybe this whole depression addiction is really controlled by our environment. Ding, 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 ding. We got something over here. And the more you look into the research, the more you look into the science, the more you realize that how you behave is directly correlated to your environment. People that you spend time with, the places that you live, the things that you experience directly correlate with how you behave. Period. And so there's something interesting to take from this. And I'm going to getting into my steps, and some of my steps relate to the rat park study. But I just wanted to start with this story, how fascinating it is, where they had the option to take cocaine and they didn't. Your environment fucking dictates how you behave. And this is why willpower is a scam. Willpower is the biggest myth sold. There's no such thing as willpower. And this is why if you look at every successful person, from an entrepreneur to an athlete to relationship success to family success, it all depends on the systems that you create and the environment that you create to benefit you, right? Your environment should be the best environment to instigate the reactions internally from you, right? Okay, let's begin what has helped me in my past. Number 1, diet. Most people obviously are eating an American sad diet, high in sugar, processed foods, high fructose corn syrup, yada, yada, yada. It's garbage. Come on. I don't have to sit here and sell you the story of how shitty our food pyramid is and how shitty the options for food are out there, meaning, fast food. So what did I do for diet? And I'm not here to preach diets. I'm just telling you what worked for me. You can figure out what works for you. And you can look at the science and research for this as well. For me personally, a high-fat, low-carbohydrate diet works wonders for me. As soon as I started eating high-fat, low-carb, I would even say high-protein, high-fat, low-carb, it was almost like day and night difference. My energy levels improved, my mood improved, my cravings, big one for me, my cravings for sugar decreased. And something that I think is very simple for people to do, and I highly recommend people to do, is start your day with a big ass fucking breakfast. High fat, high protein. And so basically what I do is like, I wake up, and this is not always, but this is what I've done in the past, is I start off right away within the first, let's say, half an hour to 45 minutes. Usually my go-to breakfast was like grass-fed sausages. I chopped them up, I cooked them, I put like 6 eggs in there, I add some nice broccoli, some seasoning on there, and I go at it. And that satiates me and fulfills me for like 8 hours straight. It optimizes my hormones like leptin and ghrelin. It gives me clarity, it gives me energy. I don't have any hypoglycemic periods. It stabilizes my blood sugar levels. And so that's what's worked for me. You know, you can look it up for yourself, but people to study for this would be, for example, Dr. Rhonda Patrick is really good to look at this. But yeah, start off there. But for me personally, diet's a big one. You can figure out what works for you, but fix your diet. That's number one. Number two, with diet obviously becomes exercise. And there's so much research when it comes to exercise and addiction. In fact, a little side note, if you look at a lot of professional bodybuilders today, a lot of them come from a very addictive background. They have OTC tendency, and they've had drug abuse in the past. And if you look at bodybuilding, it makes sense, because for you to be a successful bodybuilder, the dedication, the addiction that you need to wake up every day, to measure your food, to make sure you're in your macros and micronutrients, to make sure that you're training to, it's like you're literally a fucking robot when you're a bodybuilder. So it kind of makes sense where a lot of them had an addicted past and now they're bodybuilders. But for me, exercise, man. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Like, exercise 5 minutes a day. There's a great Russian saying from Pavlia Tutslian. It's called greasing the groove, right? So instead of you just dedicating, let's say, an hour a day, man, start off with 5 minutes a day. As long as you're doing something, it's better than zero. Something is better than zero. And so for me, it's like, honestly, how my life is scheduled, because I'm busy as fuck running a couple of companies, is if it's not in my calendar, meaning if it's not in my Google Calendar booked in, it doesn't exist in my reality, period. So I have literally every gym session booked into my calendar. I have booked in when I have lunch with friends. I have everything booked in. My whole life is booked into my Google Calendar. It gives me notifications. So a little tip that has worked for me is book in your gym sessions in your calendar. And oh, by the way, if you can keep your gym as close as possible to you, or better yet, in your house, or better yet, you don't even need a gym, all you need is a kettlebell or rings, the time that it takes to get to something also diminishes your ROI, meaning the likelihood of you succeeding, if you have to travel 45 minutes to go somewhere, the likelihood of you succeeding, it diminishes. The shorter the distance, the better. Okay. So exercise. Number 4, I made a video about this maybe 5-6 years ago. Dump your shitty friends. So this goes back to the Rat Park study, is what kind of friends do you have, right? If you have people, I like to call them energy vampires. You got people who are sucking your energy, who are putting you down. And this is for family. I know people talk about family. For me, family is everybody. Family is people that love and support you regardless of if they are your blood. Family is somebody that when you tell them something, they promote you, they help you, they do everything in their. It's not just like they do everything. They actually generally are proud of you and generally are happy that what you're doing is pushing yourself in the right direction. And you really gotta audit your friends. If your family or friends are always putting you down, be conscious of that, and then love yourself enough, man. Love yourself enough to fucking cut them out of your life, regardless of if you're family. Just cut them out, man. Cut them out. You do not deserve that. You deserve the best people in your life. You deserve people that help you, that promote you, that love you, that nurture you, that care for you, that want you to succeed. Generally want you to fucking succeed, as opposed want you to fail. Okay. Number 4 is a major one, man. It's a major one that ties into number 1 with the Rat Park study. Control your environment. That's number 4. Number 5, this one's going to be interesting. This one's not for everybody. And remember, I'm telling you things that personally helped me in my past. I'm not telling you things that I just pulled out of my ass. I'm telling you what has helped me and hopefully can help you. Number 5 is psychedelics. And I know I've had some of you reach out for exact psychedelics. Remember, I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you what worked for me. I'm not going to get into doses or anything, but the 2 ones I have, I would say 3 ones. The three ones that have been highly impactful for me was number one, MDMA, more or less controlled MDMA, very similar to the MAPS protocol where it's assisted and going through a process. Number two would be microdosing of ibogaine and iboga. In fact, ibogaine and iboga is probably the best substance so far I have investigated, read about, both from a scientific perspective and first-hand encounter with dealing with addiction. Like Gabor Mate talks about iboga. Look it up, ibogaine. It's remarkable, but it's not for everybody. I do highly state caution when it comes to iboga. Please find a professional, reach out to MAPS, but it's very interesting. And then finally, psilocybin, magic mushrooms, microdosing with that. These three, so iboga, MDMA, and psilocybin have helped me internalize the emotions that I'm feeling. It doesn't help you as in like, hey, you got to do this. It helps you internalize what you're feeling. Because let's say you're depressed. Let's say you have an addictive personality. Let's say through your addiction, through your depression, you're feeling certain emotions, but you don't understand why you're feeling these emotions. So psychedelics helps you connect deeply with your emotions so you understand them. And once you understand your emotions, you can place them in a certain order in your body and you can come to love and respect your emotions, right? So when you're feeling a certain way, where you get angry, or when you're having a craving for something, or when you have a quick impulse, you then understand why you're having this reaction. Then, instead of reacting, you respond. This is something that Viktor Frankl from Man's Search for Meaning, another book I highly recommend that you get, talks about. Instead of reacting, you respond. And so those are my 5 really important things to talk about when it comes to addiction and depression. Look at the Rat Park study: diet, exercise, friends, controlling the proper circle, having really supportive people around you, and psychedelics. If you enjoyed this video, guys, highly recommend a like, a share, and subscribe. Also, if you have any questions or comments about this, please don't hesitate to reach out, because I know it's a very sensitive topic and subject. Have a great day, guys. Peace.